We're always asked by leadership, what do you need to sell more? And the answer is always more hours in the day.
Times are changing, technologies are changing, markets becoming tougher, and I think without really understanding internal issues and solving those on an ongoing basis, digital transformations don't succeed.
One of the best pieces of advice or perspective that I heard recently was, rather than feeling like you have to have an AI strategy, which feels a little overwhelming, why not just figure out what's your AI win?
AI has been this pivotal force in redefining how B2B sales is being done. It's amplified human-centric skills and it's empowered sales professionals with unprecedented insights and capabilities.
It can be transformative. It can deliver efficiencies, which mean that you can focus your time doing something else. And I just think technology like that will really help, because then you can focus on your uniqueness, your differentiators, and spend less time on everything else.
But from a sales perspective, we're noticing that when we empower our sales teams with the tools, technology, and training to adopt appropriately AI technologies, AI methodologies, AI research, that the speed at which they can operate is much, much faster.
What we've done is we've taken all of that research and we've boiled it down from what is typically about 7 hours of preparation into click of a button, 7 seconds.
Key thing really is about deep sellers, and we can see from the data that they are 2 times as likely to beat their quotas than those individuals who exhibit behaviours linked more to shallow sellers. They prioritise high potential accounts, and they do that through a mix of their own research, but also using sales intelligence tools such as Sales Navigator.
It's very important for us to understand one thing about AI. AI is technology, but it's not about technology. Digital transformation is technology, but it is not about technology. What both of those things are about is creating an environment where people can be more effective at their jobs. So AI and digital transformation and technology are about serving your people, not the other way around.
Please welcome to the stage Senior Manager at LinkedIn for Sales, Stephanie Walker.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to this incredible venue, and welcome to Sales Connect 2024. My name is Stephanie Walker, and I am the Senior Leader here for Enterprise Business for UK and Ireland. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be hosting what promises to be an insightful afternoon all around navigating the path to Future Ready. Now, we have packed this agenda full of different perspectives of what it means to be future ready. And I can't wait to share this with you. So on the agenda today, we are going to have an overlook of the UK economy and what that means for sales. We're going to be hearing all around AI and the impact it has on our buying processes. We're also going to be hearing all about strategies to overcome these new complexities and how to embed technology into your organization. And then at last, we will also be hearing all about the newest AI features within Sales Navigator. And the best part to last, we've got an amazing panel today to discuss what it means for them to be future ready. So great stuff ahead of us. But before we get into all the good stuff, a few quick pointers for me. First of all, please make sure to use this opportunity to connect and network. Second of all, if you get a chance, check out the expo outside this space. It'll be great fun. And last but not least, why not get yourself a new headshot while you're here and update your LinkedIn profile? Now, talking about LinkedIn, we would love for you to share any key takeaways, any thoughts about being future ready, or anything else that you think today. And if you do, please do so using the hashtag SalesConnect24. Also, we really appreciate your feedback. So we would love if you could fill out a satisfaction survey anytime before you leave today. You'll find the QR codes throughout the venue, on the agenda outside, as well as at the cloakroom at the end of the evening. So my wish for you is that you leave here today inspired, maybe a little bit challenged, but most importantly, having made at least one new connection. So without much ado, let me introduce our first speaker, who's going to set the tone for today, who's my manager, the leader for EMEA and LATAM, Randy Petway.
I felt something heavy in my pocket, and I was about to take it out when I stood up, and I realized it's the mic, so that wouldn't have been a good move. As Steph mentioned, my name is Randy Petway. I'm the Senior Director for Enterprise Sales for EMEA and LATAM. And that's a mouthful, and I'm glad I have it out of the way, so now we can just have a chat. What I want to talk about are the 3 reasons I love my job. The first thing that I love is having the opportunity to talk to other revenue leaders, sales leaders, business leaders about the challenges they're facing, the challenges that I'm facing, and how we can overcome those using technology. I love doing that. I've been doing it for 20 years, over 20 years actually. And during the course of that time, there are always 3 consistent themes that come up. As business leaders, as sales leaders, we always want to know, how can we do things bigger? How can we do things faster? And how can we do things better? Bigger for sales leaders usually translates into, how do we get bigger deals? How do we capture a bigger chunk of the market? How do we build bigger pipelines? Better usually translates into, how do we improve our close rates? How do we get more sales productivity? How do we make sure that our sellers are spending more time selling? And then finally, faster. Faster usually translates into, how do we accelerate deal flow? And how do we minimize the time to close? So these are themes that have been coming up for years and years and years. And I've been talking about them with customers, and they've been talking to me about them for years and years and years. But what does change every now and then, when there's key inflection points, are the barriers and the opportunities for navigating that world. So things like, in this world that we're in today, the buying cycle and the buying behaviors that we're encountering have definitely become more complex. A lot of that came out of the pandemic, and it's just stuck with us, and it's evolved, and it continues to evolve. And that's a very challenging environment for us as sellers and for our teams as sellers. Another thing that comes up again is, how do we increase sales productivity? How do we make sure that our sellers, in particular our best sellers, are spending the majority of their time having meaningful conversations with the people who matter? And if you were to poll any of them, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, they'll tell you that's the least of what they do in terms of time allocation. And then finally, how do we leverage technology, and specifically AI, to help navigate those barriers that I just mentioned? So again, that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, both formally as we stand on the stage and we present to you, but also those are hopefully the conversations that you'll have when you step outside of the room. So that's one thing I love about my job. The second thing I love about my job is, this is the first company I've worked for where I can honestly say that our mission and the products and services that we offer to our customers are completely aligned. Our mission is to connect the world's professionals and in a way to make them more productive at doing their jobs. And that's exactly what we do through the products that we offer. And one of the things that underpins our ability to do that are our 1 billion members that we have in our LinkedIn ecosystem. Now, I don't know about you, but 1 billion is a difficult number for me to get my brain around. I'm sure we have a few billionaires in the crowd, so maybe you understand it more than I do, but I just can't get my brain around it very well. So what I thought we would do is just dig in a little bit to the numbers that are a bit more specific to this room. So when we look at the UK specifically, out of our 1 billion members, 40 million of them are here in the UK. And that's a phenomenal number. It's 40 million members, but it's also 17% of decision makers. So the people, you can place a pretty good bet that the people you want to talk to have meaningful conversations with the people who matter, are on our platform. But that's still a massive number. So just to get a little bit more specific and to talk about the network effect, let's talk about this room. This is an exercise that we've done a few times in the past, and we've done it here as well. Right now, this number is a little bit dated. We did it when the registration was a little bit earlier on. We had 128 companies represented in this room, and that excludes LinkedIn and LinkedIn people. And that translates into coverage across 12 industry groups and 30 industries. So we've got a nice mixture of different types of customers and industries just based on the 128 people and companies that are represented in this room. And actually the turnout is a little higher than that, so that number goes up slightly. Now, what's really interesting and underlies the network effect, which is how we built LinkedIn as a business and how you will build your business, is the fact that these 128 people we have in the room, they have connection, you have connection to 20 million global decision makers. So that's 128 people having connection to 20 million global decision makers. So that should tell you, A, the value of your network to your sellers, but also your value of all of your customer-facing networks people value to each other. That translates into 5.4 million companies and job titles and industries. So this network effect is incredibly powerful. And like most things, there's good news and there's bad news. The idea of navigating 1 billion members, the idea of navigating 40 million members, even the idea of navigating 5 million by an individual human or by a team of humans is virtually impossible. And that's where technology comes in. If you're trying to identify the people who matter and you're trying to show up and have meaningful conversations with them, not just meaningful to you, that's the least important thing, meaningful to them, then you need technology like Sales Navigator. You need an AI-based and a tool that has AI at its foundation in order to help you navigate this huge and powerful network that we've given you access to. Now, I got ahead of myself. So the third thing that I love about my job is I get to work with some incredibly brilliant people, and I mean that literally. So you're going to hear from a couple of them as soon as I come off the stage. Tamara and Carla are going to talk a little bit about that data that I just mentioned. But I also want you to have a few words from our CEO, Ryan Roslansky, which we'll come to in a moment. But before we do that, just one more thing, and it goes back to what Steph was saying. We have this incredible network here. We have LinkedIn leaders from product, from marketing, from sales, from our economic graph team, which you're about to hear from our customer success team. Please do take the opportunity when you have a moment to engage us, ask us any questions that you might have, challenge us on anything that you might want to challenge us on. You also have representatives from the account teams that work with your sales team. Please do the same with them. That's the human element of what we're trying to promote here, so please do take advantage of it. And with that, I want to give you an opportunity to hear from our CEO, Ryan Roslansky.
Hello, and welcome to LinkedIn's Sales Connect 2024. I'm excited to kick off this event where business leaders like you are gathering to discuss how we are all trying to stay ahead in the changing business landscape. At LinkedIn, building solutions to connect sellers with buyers is a top priority because that's the driving force behind economic growth in the global economy. Over the past year, I've spoken with many of you, and a common challenge has emerged. How do we accelerate growth in a complex environment? The shift has moved from growth at any cost to financially responsible growth. And that's why I'm excited about the announcements you're going to hear more about today. We're introducing new AI features in Sales Navigator to help every team member perform at the level of your top sellers. These tools will make it easier to find contacts and provide comprehensive insights about buyers. It uses our authentic first-party data to streamline prospecting, engagement, and deal closing, freeing your sellers to focus on building relationships and driving growth. And stepping back, we're building all of this on top of the trusted foundation of LinkedIn. Behind that blue app that's on many of your phones is a mapping of the world's economy. More than 1 billion members and over 70 million companies. Our economic graph offers unparalleled insights about movement in the global workforce as it updates over 5 million times per minute. Using that data, our AI technology in partnership with Microsoft, and our verified identity platform, we build trusted AI products that help create economic opportunity for every professional. As we move forward, remember, the leaders who stay agile and invest in both skills and technology will be the ones driving the most impact. By embracing AI to streamline work, elevate sales productivity, and build deeper customer relationships, you'll position your teams and your business for more sustainable growth. Thank you all again for your partnership with LinkedIn as we all become future ready together. Have a wonderful Sales Connect. Thank you.
Welcoming our next speakers, Tamara Vasiliev, Head Economist for EMEA LinkedIn, and Carla Intel, Senior Insights Program Manager, LinkedIn.
Thank you, everybody. It's a great pleasure to speak to you here today. I'm going to rush a little bit because I only have 10 minutes and a lot to share. So I'm going to skip through this and instead tell you the 3 topics that we are going to cover today. First, a short intro. Then what we call a market update. That would be like a macroeconomic outlook, if you will. And then finally, devote a minute or two to AI seen from the perspective of the macroeconomists. So let's begin. You've heard Ryan speak about this. What does economic graph represent? It represents all of this data congested into a story about where we are economically, where the workforce is, where's the future for what we do in LinkedIn, what you do in your companies, and so on. I won't repeat the numbers. I will tell you, though, that at the end of these slides, you can see the QR code that you can scan and go to the Economic Graph Institute and see all our research. It's all free, and there'll be a lot of it coming in the coming months for the EMEA region that might have been neglected a little bit lately. So let's head to the market update. Here's where we are now. So this is 2024. We're now in October, a year almost ready. This is what we expect to see at the end of the year. It's been great for US. It's been great for China. It's been especially good for India. Worldwide, growth is expected to record 2.7% year on year. That's a really good result. 2.45 is considered a good result for global economy. So if you're at 2.7, it's been a good year. However, in Europe, it has not been a good year. In the UK, it has not been a good year. In Germany, in particular, it was really bad, narrowly escaped the recession. And in the industrial sector, they've actually seen a recession this year. UK grew by 1.1, or is expected to. France got by at 1.2, heavily aided by the Olympics. So even there, it wasn't great. Only Spain is kind of a happy picture for this year. Good news comes here. So if we move to 2025 and what we expect for this year, we see the UK moving, speeding up to 1.7, Germany coming out of stagnation, likely to record 0.7, Spain remaining strong, France remaining decent, all the region picking up significantly. US is expected to slow down, but from an exuberantly high growth, so that's still good. China is expected to still do good, India even better. So 2025 overall is expected to be a good year when it comes to growth, and especially when it comes to Europe. How's that possible? This is the one answer. Obviously, across countries, there'll be more idiosyncratic factors, but this is really what explains it on the global level. Major central banks, especially those in the Western Hemisphere, have started easing policy. You probably know as much. Bank of England eased once, central bank in the Eurozone more than a couple of times by now. Fed was the late joiner, but it made a decisive cut in September. What's more important, though, much more cuts are expected to come this year and next. For UK, markets expect 1 more cut this year and 4 more cuts the next, each 25 basis points. So that's 1.25. If you add the cut that's already in there, that's 1.5 percentage points less than where we were for the majority of this year. So that makes all the difference. It's important for businesses, it's important for consumers, and the UK growth that we expect for next year primarily comes from exactly a stronger consumer. Good news then that there's another tailwind for the consumer in the UK, and it comes from this. So this is the nominal wage growth US compared to the UK. You see the UK in the yellow line. What this tells you is that UK wages are still growing at about 5% year on year. If we know that inflation is at about 2.2 in August, that's a lot. More importantly, government and the Labour Party have promised, and it's penciled in basically 6% rise for the public sector workers. So that means that 5% increase is likely to continue into 2025. So that means a much healthier consumer that now pays less for its debt, and consumer that now makes more money. So this is where the positive outlook for the 2025 for UK comes from. What do we know about all this in LinkedIn? We know a lot. There's really, it's a treasure trove of data. You wouldn't believe the insights that you can pull from it. Since we have only 10 minutes, I'm going to share just this one. We call it labor market tightness indicator, and what we do is measure how many job applicants do you have for each job opening. Right now, the number is 5 for UK. If you compare across countries, it looks almost ugly, but don't do that. It's also cultural. In some nations, people just apply to jobs more, in some less. What you should do instead, compare it across time. Then you'll see if you compare to 2 years earlier, it got about twice as hard to get a job if you're a job seeker. Whereas it took two and a half applicants for every job opening 2 years ago, now it's 5. However, again, another warning, nothing simple when you look at data. 2 years ago, we had that amazing treasure trove of job applications. So we had, of job vacancies. So we had 1.5 million job vacancies open in 2022, whereas for UK, the average is something like half that, so 750,000. So you probably noticed as an employer 2 years ago, if you were trying to find the right talent, you probably struggled. You probably tugged people by their sleeves and asking them to come and offer raises and so forth. Now you don't have to work that hard at all. It is a market that's now governed strictly by the employer. So if you're an employee, it's tough for you. If you're an employer, it's easy for you. But what's important to also notice is that it's still a healthy market. So unemployment rate now stands at 4.1%. Historically, that was at times considered even less there where it should be. If you know about this term, neutral unemployment rate, it used to be 5%. It used to be considered that if you push it below 5%, you'll hit inflation, you'll hit overheating, and so on. So this is still a good sign. It's just easier for the employer than employee, but still a healthy market and a market that allows for overall growth. So where does then AI come into all of that? I'm going to give you a macro background, and then my colleagues Carla and Lisa will say much more about how we view it in LinkedIn. From the macro point of view, here's the first thing that will come to mind. Can our jobs be automated? That must be kind of on every person's mind, must be on your mind as a sales representative. And then the answer is yes. Part of the job tasks can probably, at least to a significant extent, be automated. CRM updates, sales prospecting, and so on. So probably I could do this instead of you. Should you then be worried? We think no. Rather, from the macro perspective, here's the 3 lessons that we think are useful. First, be aware that adoption is in super early stages. So if you feel unprepared, if you feel we're not there, we're not ready, and so on, you're not alone. Vast majority is in the same position as you. Then second, we already see in our data growing in learning and hiring for AI. But again, a warning here. That's not necessarily an AI data scientist or an AI software engineer. This is, for a large part, a person who's ready to use AI as a tool. So already employees are feeling that they need to upskill in that area. We believe that employers who offer this kind of upskilling will be having a head start in the whole game. And then finally, there's a lot of talk about what will AI do to productivity. We think it's probably best to believe that you will not know for at least 5 more years. It's probably going to be beneficial. You see both sides of stories. Some people are telling you there'll be jobs lost. Some people are telling you there'll be jobs added. Probably both to an extent will be true, but we cannot know without data, and it will take time. So if you want to take away 3 key messages from everything I just said and at such a high speed, here's the 3. First, market outlook is positive for 2025. Undoubtedly, for the EMEA region, it's going to be a better year. So that's an opportunity for you. Second, if you're thinking about AI, now's the time to start upskilling, time to start adopting. You're not late, quite on the contrary. You're just at the right time, but you do need to probably start doing it now. And then thirdly, sales as a sector is poised to be exactly the leader that should be having it easy to adopt and implement AI to its own advantage. My friend Carla will now take you through all the rest that we have to tell you about AI in sales. But in the meantime, you can also scan the QR code that will take you to everything I said and more in a, let's put it that way, printed version. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Carla Intal, and I lead the Global Thought Leadership Program for Sales Data and Insights here at LinkedIn. A little bit about my background. I graduated from the first cohort of social data scientists who came from the University of Oxford after 10 years of working as a macro policy researcher at the IMF and the World Bank. And now that's where I learned AI and data science. And now I'm glad to be doing this, learning something new every day here at LinkedIn. My plan for the next 7 minutes is to take you on this journey as a data scientist at LinkedIn. My day-to-day job is to study seller behavior, buyer and seller data, the sales function in particular. And for the next 7 minutes, we will be guided by this question. How are sales teams preparing to be future ready? Before we look into the future, we must look into the past. So what did we tell you last year in last year's Deep Sales Summit? We published this Future of Work report in 2023, wherein we made this bold prediction that salespersons was going to be the third most common occupation potentially augmented by generative AI, just after software engineers and customer service representatives. So, 1 year on, where do we stand? Has AI indeed changed the way we sell? Let's find out. What we did for this year is that my team, in the Insights team, we looked at the billions of data points on buyer and seller behavior. But not only that, we gathered survey responses through the power of Ipsos, a global market research firm, and together we built this mixed method analysis to better understand the behaviors of buyers and sellers. And this was the first question. We asked sales executives, so these are people in the C-suite, senior directors, SVPs, etc. How confident are you about being future ready? But before we do that, maybe let's survey this room. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you feel that you are future ready? Oh my gosh. Okay. I was expecting a little more. No one raised their hand, just so you know. Okay. All right, okay. Well, I guess what I'm going to show won't be that surprising because I was surprised. All right, 28% of sales executives are highly confident about being future ready. So that's not quite where we wanted to be, right? I mean, in this room. Well, thank you for attending because this is the goal that we have set for you today, right? Okay, let's go to some good news, all right? Okay, the good news is when we looked at the data, sales teams and executives are upskilling in AI. So what this means to me is that you may not feel confident now, but you are actually leaning into the transformative power of AI in your roles. When we look at the top courses of sales executives taken in the UK, AI courses dominate this top 10 list, right? So what this tells me is that you're not confident now, but you are actually secretly learning the power of AI in your role. Okay, let's take a look at how sellers dedicate their time each week, right? There's 3 things that I want to show in this slide. The first one is the core function of every seller is to sell. And yet, out of a 40-hour work week, you only spend 12 hours doing the core job, which is actually selling. The second point I want to make here is these last three tasks here, right? So researching, admin tasks, updating your CRM. You can see it takes up almost half of your time, about 18 hours, in fact. But just imagine if you can just convert about 11 or 10 hours of that time into something more productive, right? Into your core job. Imagine just freeing up that time by the power of AI, so you could potentially augment these types of jobs. And the third point that I'm going to make, we go back to the core functions, right? So the top 3, selling, learning, meeting people, right? These are jobs that we say are not augmentable by AI, because these are the jobs that we say are inherently human. These are human-centric jobs. And it comes as no surprise that these are the top 3, or they take up majority of your time in the work week. And that's because sales, we believe, is still largely a human-centric profession. So when we looked at, this is a list of the top skills required in sales jobs in the UK. So we've tallied the skills that sales jobs require, right? And we see that 6 out of the 10 top skills are actually human, right? Selling, communication, relationship development, negotiation. But what's more important that we found is that there have been skills that have been fastest growing, right? Relationship development actually increased 73-fold in the last 2 years. So what does this tell me? This tells me that being future ready does not only mean being able to identify the tasks that are potentially augmentable by AI, but also believing that sales is still about relationships. It's still about that human connection. Okay, so maybe I've talked so much. Let's go to the recap. So what have I told you so far? I've told you that AI will shape the future of work, including the sales function. But we saw in this room, sales executives are not confident about being future ready. We do know, however, that you are upskilling in AI through our LinkedIn Learning data. But then we also know that sales is still human-centric. And that's despite the idea that there are tasks within your job that can be potentially augmentable by AI. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more stats to uncover in our report. So if you have your phones ready, feel free to take a look at the rest of the findings that we have in this report. But I believe in your swag pack, you also have a one-page summary of the UK version of the Sales Leader Compass. And on that note, I will leave you with one question. How can sales leaders navigate a shifting macro environment and leverage AI technology to make their organizations future ready? And to tackle this, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce our VP for Sales, EMEA and LATAM, Lisa Gunnarsson.
Small question, a nice one to start with. I hope that you all are doing well. So today, I think it's time to discuss how to navigate, how to actually get to a place where we do feel comfortable and where we do feel that we are future ready for this time in AI. But it's a hard time right now. In business, actually more business is being lost than being won due to the economic climate that we are in. That's what I would like to explore with you today. Why is it where we are today? How can we work through AI to actually become future ready? And then what role do we play as leaders in ensuring that our teams are future ready in this world of AI? So with no further ado, I'll kick off and let's explore where we are today. And let's talk about what's going on in the market. Because all of the things that we've seen previously around, from Tamara, around the business, the landscape, what we also can see in our research and in our data is that about 40 to 60% of all business is actually being lost, stalled, postponed, slipped, or just moved. And why is that? Why is that? Well, actually, this entire era of AI is making every single company produce either a solution, a service, or a product that includes some kind of AI. Meaning that it's very hard to be a customer out there. It's incredibly complex to be in a buying process. So every single customer out there is actually feeling some kind of FOMO, some kind of fear of missing out. Maybe you're that company that will miss the big investment in AI and you'll be set back like 3 years. That kind of FOMO of feeling it's like feeding curiosity, but also a bit of anxiety. And at the same time, we're also coming out of a pretty steep market of financial disruption, meaning that FOMO, as we've been speaking about, the fear of messing up as a buyer is very clearly there too. There is still very tight cost restrictions in almost any company, and there is also a very high level of risk adversity in companies. So this FOMO meeting FOMO is creating a bit of buzz and disruption in the buying processes. There is tons of curiosity and tons of wanting to do new cool stuff. Everyone wants to be the hero. But no one is brave enough to be the hero themselves. So what are companies then doing to ease this complexity for themselves and still be able to feel risk-free stepping into new investments? What we can find is that companies are doing three things. The first one is that they have decided to lean in and do their due diligence and learn about all the interesting things that are going on. What they are doing is that they're pulling in all the people they can from their internal organization to explore and understand the solutions that are ongoing in the market and their industry. And they're pulling in all of these people to make it, ensuring that they are like understanding what are the inputs, what are the approvals, do we have consensus, are we ready to make this decision? The second thing that they are doing at this moment is that they're ensuring the process. They are centralizing as much of the procurement process that can be done to also limit the risks that we are taking. This means that there's a lot of people to meet, and they will be going on for quite some time because the buying process is prolonging. The last thing, the third thing that you will probably all have experienced this year is that the buying, the hierarchy of who makes the decision and who is the signer has moved up the value chain quite significantly. We can understand from the market that business that was CEO probably didn't even know about before is now signed by the CEO. So all of these three things together have increased the complexity around how companies buy today. And the problem is that most of our average sales teams are actually selling like before. This means that we're not meeting our customers or our buyers out there in where they are, where they need to feel safe to make a decision. So we asked a good friend of ours called Matt Dixon, who is the author of the Challenger Sale book, new author of The Jolt Effect. He was one of our speakers in New York just a week ago, and one of the thought leaders that we often turn to understand the market dynamics. And we asked him, what do best people do right now? How do you mitigate for this complexity in the buying process? And he said, literally, there are three things that he can see. Number one, which is also something that salespeople like generally do quite well, is that number one, we need to create the excitement of the new to come. And the difference of what we are doing now and what we need to be doing is that we need to ensure that this excitement lives throughout the entirety of the sales process, and not just in the beginning. In the beginning, we're really good, but we need to make it prolong throughout the entirety of the sales process so that when the decision is to be made, the excitement still prolongs and prolives the risk that needs to be taken. The second thing he says is that we need to ensure and understand the buying complexity of having so many more stakeholders in a game. It's actually very normal to see somewhere between 10 to 20x the amount of stakeholders in a normal buying process as we had before. And we are in this process where there is a curiosity, but what the customers need is that we involve and we step up our game and be there for our customers in their buying process and ensure that everyone who is involved, that they get what they need in order to make the decision and feel safe about the decision to be made so that they can put their vote up and say, yeah, I'm good with this. I'm good for us to make this decision. And the third thing he says is that we, for real, we need to see this hand-holding of the decision-making process. Great salespeople today are clearly recommending a way for the buyer to buy. They're clearly recommending a solution, and they are holding the customer by the hand throughout the entirety of that sales process. Because this uniqueness of AI is creating so much curiosity. We all feel it, that there is something buzzing in this market. But it's also creating adversity, and what they're looking for is to feel safe about the decision. Which kind of brings me into like the next section, which is like, how can the AI help us win? Like AI is actually only to use for us. If it helps us to win business and faster, better, bigger, if it helps us to create revenue for our business. So how I think about this is like Matt Dixon is recommending there's going to be like 10x, 20x more people to meet. And actually what we're seeing with data is that we are spending record low times actually in customer engagement. Somewhere between 24-29% of our time is spent with customers today, which is record low. We're doing all of these other things than actually spending time with customers. And when we see what's needed, it's exactly that. We need to spend more time with our customers because we need to up our game to meet all of these people who need to feel safe. And this is where AI comes in. AI is kind of both the disruption and the solution. Because generative, personalized AI features can actually help a salesperson take back your time to up to about 12 hours here in the UK to every single rep per week. We believe through our data and research that you can go from, hypothetically then, spending about 24% of your time with customers to up to theoretically 54% of your time with customers. This is probably one of the biggest gains I have ever seen in my sales career. That's why we, at LinkedIn Sales Solutions, we're doing everything we can to look at your sales process and understand where are the biggest time hurdles that are taking the most time from your salespeople to develop features that are easy to use that can help you to save that time and spend more time out so that you can win the deals because you are making your customers feel safe. So two different functions features that we have developed throughout the last year. One has been Account IQ. Hands up, everyone who's using Account IQ. Good, that's good, that's a good start. We can do more. Account IQ is probably one of those features that when I was 20 and kicked off my sales career, I would have loved to have Account IQ. It's like on a click on a button, Account IQ will, through generative AI, pull up all the data on an account that you need. What does this customer do? What is their industry? What are their competitive advantages? What are their strategic priorities? Here is the executive team. Here is how you're linked. All of the things that will take hours and hours of research to get to. Imagine everyone in your sales and customer business using Account IQ to, instead of spending tedious hours researching and being up to date, you have it by a click of a button. It's that easy. It's like exactly when you open your phone and you click on LinkedIn or you click on email. It's like a click of a button. It's not hard. It doesn't take any brain power. You don't have to write a prompt. It's like a click of a button and you have it. The other thing that we have developed throughout the last couple of years, or the last year, is hidden allies. One of the smartest features, again, I think I've ever worked with. It's also back down directly to the thing we need to solve right now. So salespeople today need to probably meet around 10 to 20x more people in order to secure a deal for people to feel safe. Now, how are we going to have time with that if we know that it takes so much time to not just find the people who you want to meet, but actually get your foot in to the people you want to meet and then have them want to meet you too. That's the most time-consuming element we work with in sales. And what Hidden Allies does, it shows you exactly what connections you have to be able to get a warm introduction into that customer. Because let's face it, like all of us in this room, we're probably in roles where you get I get like 200 emails a week from different campaigns or salespeople wanting to meet. I think I've had quite hidden telephone number. I probably get like 20, 30 calls anyway. I never pick up, never. And so I don't think you do either. I never respond to those emails. I just throw them away. If I would accidentally pick up, because I think it's school or kindergarten or something, I definitely take it down again. But I kid you not, Alistair and I met for 4 or 5 minutes outside in this event room. If Alistair would get back to me on Monday, say, hey, Lise, I think there's this guy you should meet. Give it 15 minutes, it's pretty good. I would, without a blink of an eye. And I would do that if it were Alistair, if it was a student somewhere I met, if it was a neighbor, an alumni, past colleague, because that's how we people are, how we humans are. We trust. That's a warm introduction. That's what Hidden Allies is for you. These two features alone will save you people so much time, and this is just the beginning. And think of it. All of your competitors are in the exact same situation like us right now. This race to be won will be won by the company and the sales teams and customer teams who figure this one out and start using these AI features to make you faster and better and help the customers feel safe in the decisions that they need to make. Now, this brings me into the third, which is the role that we play. So what is the role of the leader in this transformation? And what is the role that we all need to play? So I think of my role as someone who sets clarity, direction, quite prescriptive, and probably someone who needs to ensure that operational excellence sits there, that we have the tools required in order for my people to be out with their customers as much as just humanly possible in times like this. But I also give you, and I think it's the same for many of you, but I also give you two thoughts that I've had on this. One insight and probably more one advice. I'll call them two my tips. So my first tip is just a reflection on that. I think that we're in an era right now where there's going to be humans at work who lean in, who want to learn about AI and AI features in programs they already have to try and get smarter about the way that they work to save time. And they're going to be humans at work who don't, right? And at the same time, they're going to be sales teams who lean in and who want to use and are required to use these features that will save you time so that you can spend more time with your customers so that they feel safe and that you win those deals. And they're going to be teams who don't, who kind of wait for the company training. So my next kind of advice, and more tip of the day, would be for all of you in this room to embrace this change and realize that this is our role in this moment of time is to be that training. Orchestrate the training that you want to see for your people and be prescriptive about the change of behavior that you want to see. Because no one else is going to do this for you. Don't wait for kind of the overall company training on what is AI. We need AI skills. What is semiconductors? There's so many other topics that this could be about. Be prescriptive about the things that you see that can move the needle and get your team time back. That would probably be my core advice on this, and realize that features in tools like Sales Navigator, it's not like writing ChatGPT long prompts. It's not like investing a minute in figuring out how to write this ChatGPT prompt to get the best answer. It's like a click of a button. Account IQ, click, 7 seconds, everything is in front of you. Click Hidden Allies, everything is in front of you. It's exactly as on your iPhone. You click on LinkedIn, it opens. You click on email, it opens. Click. That's it. This is not advanced writing prompt skills. This is click, using world-class AI technology at a click on a button. But it needs your leadership to get implemented. On that, someone probably in your business, if they haven't done that already, CEO, CFO, COO, board member is probably going to reach out to any one of you and ask hey you, Alistair, what is your AI strategy? Tell me about what you're doing within AI to drive great revenue for this business. And you probably need to have a prepared answer somewhere that explains what you're actually doing. Now, I've been thinking about that. I think my response to anyone answering would be that you are taking the most safest and exciting bet, or one of them actually in your toolbox that you're already operating in, saying that you're working with Sales Navigator as one of the absolute safest bets, powered by Microsoft, furthest on technology within AI computing, using LinkedIn's 1 billion member data as firsthand to you. And number 3, you're operating on Sales Now, which is like the extension of the platform of LinkedIn, where all of your people are every single day anyway. It's like the combination of safe and excitement. And you can truthfully say to them that you're actually doing this. And this is a way that you're exploring what your big bet will be within AI. Because this year, I don't think that there's going to be this like one big 50% mega growth due to you invested in something in 2 weeks. That's not going to happen this year. But if you do exactly this and implement these small features that can make you more effective, I can almost promise you that you have like 1% per week. And that 1% per week, my friends, is going to give you 50% on a year. 50% on a year. So maybe to summarize today, what does it require for us to be future ready? Well, I think the first thing is just realizing where we are. 40 to 60% of business out there is actually being stalled to no decision at all because buyers don't feel safe. The conclusion is that we need to up our game and we need to make them feel safe. It will require 10x, 20x more people to get involved in the sales process, and we need to be there. We need to use smart features that give us time back. And you all as leaders, we need to own this transformation, and we need to be prescriptive about the small things, the small wins, as Alyssa said in the video, that we can use on an every week basis to move forward our positions faster than the competition. My last, liner for today is decide to not wait for the company training. If you do nothing else, decide to be the company training for your business. Thank you. And I'll have...
Please welcome to the stage Senior Director, Product Marketing, LinkedIn for Sales, Bill Burnett.
So it's great to be here. Good to see all of you. I'm Bill Burnett. I lead product marketing for LinkedIn for Sales. Really excited to kick off the next section of our agenda where we are going to start talking about the product innovation. Lisa did a great job teeing it up. I was getting antsy sitting in that seat. I wanted to jump up and get to show you everything. So that's going to be this section. But first, I want to revisit 2 of the topics that we heard a lot about today. And that is profitable growth and the promise of AI, as we think about how it relates to the value that we're trying to increase in our products and services. So when you talk about profitable growth, of course, one lever, productivity, making all of your sales teams better today than they were yesterday. It's a complex selling environment. We spoke to this, but the best sellers, they figure it out. We surveyed thousands of global B2B sellers, and what we found is there's a top performing subset, about 18%, that are twice as likely to hit quota. And what they do a few things really well, better than most. The first is they find all of those key decision makers. We talked about how big the buying committee is getting. They identify not the 1 to 2 target decision makers, but the 10 plus hidden influencers that could really break a deal. The second thing they do a great job of is they engage with intent. What we mean by this is they don't spam. They're using warm introductions, the hidden allies that Lisa spoke about, to continuously build support and advocacy inside of their accounts. And third, when they get their chance, they show up super prepared. They elevate every conversation by having a deep understanding of their customers, their buyers, and how their products and services fit so they can be intelligent and add value throughout the sales journey. Now, of course, right, you can imagine the impact. If we could get every seller to be the best seller, what this would drive for all of our businesses. And this is the second part, what we heard about the promise of AI. AI is super powerful, but it's how you use AI, and not every AI solution is the right solution. AI is only as good as the data and the context that fuel it. So we hit on this slide. You saw it a few times in different ways, the power of LinkedIn's economic graph, the data that we sit on. We have this unbelievably engaged community of 1 billion members and 70 million companies. And you heard Ryan talk about this insane number of 5 million refreshes of the data and the interactions every second. In the time it's taking me to say this, we have different job changers. We've got thousands of different connections being made. And so it's this unbelievable asset of data that we have that when you infuse it with these cutting edge AI models, not just our own models, but our access to the world-class capabilities of Microsoft, of OpenAI, we're able to build game-changing capabilities, products and features that are meant to make your job easier. And so that's where we're going to begin today. We're going to take a look at a reimagined Sales Navigator enhanced with AI, meant to drive productivity gains for your entire team. Let's take a look. I was in New York last week. It was the same thing. No one knew. Like, you clap after these videos, like, So, and by the way, spoiler alert, we do have another video in about 5 minutes, so we'll do the clap. So look these are not just a set of AI features. We think of this as a new suite of AI capabilities meant to help your organization find, engage, and build relationships with buyers, empowering all of your sellers to adopt those top-performing seller habits at scale without any friction. And so we're going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to walk you through a couple of these new concepts that we have. The first, we talked about the importance of finding everybody in the buyer circle. That's what the best and those top performers do. Sales Navigator is the most powerful people search product on the planet. But historically, you've had to know how to use it to harness its full value. We're changing that with Lead Finder. With a click of a button, we're going to take everything we know about you, your target buyer, their location, function, seniority. We're going to do the same across your target accounts. We'll pull lists in from CRM. We'll help you create new lists. And then we're going to take the billions of data points across LinkedIn and run simultaneous searches across your entire book of business or a specific account and find all the people that you need to be engaging with. These are these past customers that Lisa spoke about, past colleagues, past customers, former colleagues, job changers, new decision makers. These are change agents. They can help you get a warm introduction. And that's why these folks matter. When your sales teams get warm introductions, they're 4 times as likely to close a deal. And that's what LinkedIn can help you find. The second habit, engaging with intent, not spamming. We're really excited about our new Message Assist platform. Now, there are AI writers everywhere. You will see them in every product. What is unique, though, about LinkedIn is we know you, we know your products and services, we know your buyers, we know the companies that they represent. And so we're going to be able to create these hyper-personalized messages. And so it'll start by knowing what products you sell. We'll pull that in. We'll look at websites or collateral. We'll train on how you pitch your products. You're still in the driver's seat. You can change, you can enhance, you can tweak. And then from there, we'll synthesize that against your recipients and get you these hyper-personalized prompts that then will tailor these messages directly for your buyers, the recipients, all about your products and services. And while we're excited about bringing more intelligent direct outreach, over time, we're also going to be bringing this to our intro path. We talked about our ability to find the right people at the accounts. Message Assist will also then draft and create these outreach emails and templates for you. Lastly, top performers have a deep understanding of their accounts and their buyers. Lisa did a great job of really talking about Account IQ. I love seeing some of the hands of who's been using Account IQ. It was the first Gen AI feature that we created. Account research in seconds. We're now going to be enhancing it, where we're going to be tailoring the products and services that you have and helping you target your buyers, giving you talking points, coaching notes on how to map to those buyer needs. And then we'll wrap that with the company data that we have, executive voices, all of the different information we find publicly with earnings statements and so forth, to be able to give you this comprehensive picture on everything you need to know about an account. And where that's great, we're really excited to also introduce everything you need to know about a buyer, Lead IQ. We're going to look at all of their posts, comments, job history, and we're going to help synthesize everything you need to know about that person. There, again, are so many products out there doing research, but one thing is true. Anyone in a customer-facing role, you go to LinkedIn.com before you meet with somebody. You look at their profile. You look at the account. We're going to summarize everything for you and make it really easy to get that value. So that's our AI lineup. Really excited. All coming directly into Sales Navigator. None of this is hand-wavy. It's all in development with beta customers. Every feature you see here will be rolling out over the next few months. So that's the first part of our product announcement, product section. We also have a bold vision for the future, where AI is going, where tech is taking us. So if you look at just the last 24 months, the pace of innovation has been something like none of us have ever seen. It was 2 years ago that we were introduced to the first ChatGPT product, these large language models that were trained on the entirety of the internet. And it was this open field, a prompt, that you got to witness the magic of asking something and getting something back generated from scratch. And it was very cool, but the practicality of it, we found, comes in this next wave, which is what you just saw. Without the data and the context, we can't deliver real value. And so with LinkedIn, the asset we showed you with our Dana, we're able to create features that are very exciting, that drive real tangible results, like finding information on an account, finding information about a lead. But we're now entering a new era of autonomous agents, the rise of these agents. If you've seen any of the CRM conferences in the last month, Dreamforce or HubSpot, you're hearing a lot about agents. Simply defined, an agent is going to be AI technology that's going to help you solve problems. You're going to be able to tell the agent, I need to break into an account, and the agent will help you figure out what the right path to do so is and connect across multiple systems. We are building the first ever sales agent on the LinkedIn platform. And why I want to revisit some of the data, and it's important, is because in the billion members that we talked about, we have over 20 million sellers on LinkedIn.com. And we know from these sellers what products and services they sell. We know who they're connected to. We know how they perform their jobs. But we also, in this ecosystem, have 50+ million buyers. They're engaging with your ad campaigns. They're researching products. They're connecting with different people. We are the only platform that brings these two together and builds this thriving ecosystem of products and services, bringing buyers and sellers together. Therefore, we can create a sales agent that can solve real problems for you, can really perform action. And so we want to give you a sneak peek. This is the part about the second video. We're going to show you what we're up to with our seller agent. Good job. So we're going to slow down that video, and I'm going to walk you through two concepts to get your head around how we're thinking about this agent. The first is what we're calling automated prospecting. You saw a little bit of that in the video. This idea of prospecting is much more than just 0 to 1 SDRs or AEs trying to get net new logos. It's this idea that all of us, RMs, CSMs, everyone in the customer-facing org are constantly needing to find new people and new decision makers. And so with the agent, you're going to start off and you're going to give in natural language, maybe say like who you're going after. Are you an RM? Are you a CSM? Are you an AE? And so forth. And then we're going to build a seller profile automatically. In each one of these windows, there's a whole pop-up here to discuss and show you like how we're thinking about who the right buyers are for you, who the right companies are for you. And then there's going to be a calibration period where you're going to be able to train the agent and talk about like, are these good fits? Are these not so good fits? And then we're going to be able to take you to a place that we're going to find these highly qualified matched leads for you. And the two things to call out here and show you is that first, we're going to tell you why and who this person is in the case of Arnold, recent activity, current role, responsibilities. But then we're also going to give a fit score, and we're going to talk about why we believe this person is the right match. Why do we prioritize? So in the case of Arnold, not only do they fit your persona, they're a decision maker, but they're searching for content on your products or services. Maybe they engaged with, like I said, an ad campaign. And it's going to create this opportunity. And again, as I'm showing, you have good fit, you have not good fit. If you hit not good fit, you can train the model. Why is this person not a good fit? And you're going to fine tune it over time. In this case, Arnold's a good fit. And so now we're going to get a couple prompts on where we can go with this. We can directly message Arnold if we're ready, or in this case, let's learn a little bit more. And so now you're in this conversational world. You can ask anything. You can talk to the agent in natural language. And so we're going to tell me a little bit more about Arnold's company. In this case now, instead of having to go to Account IQ, everything comes and happens in real time. Because you're looking for more information, we're going to pull real-time information. And then when you're ready, we can draft a message that was already teed up by the agent, hyper-personalized, and even get a couple other prompts that maybe the best time to send it would not be right now, but 9 a.m. local time, where there's a better chance for a response. And so this is just one way to think about automated prospecting. You are in the driver's seat, but you can imagine over time, as you get more comfortable and the agent is more fine-tuned and trained, we could be sending emails, finding you like highly qualified leads, drafting the right messages, and send them on repeat for you. So it's doing that automated prospecting. Again, you decide how far you want to take it. You're in the driver's seat. So that's number one. The second that I want to unpack for you is this idea of like this always-on strategic advisor. Again, this idea that the agent has this brain and intelligence of everything we talked about in the LinkedIn ecosystem. So in this case, LinkedIn.com. Not even having to go into Sales Navigator, you go to LinkedIn.com, your Sales Navigator agent greets you and basically calls out for you that Flexus, one of your accounts, is expanding in Arizona, and we think that might matter based on the products and services that you offer. And so again, you can converse with the agent. In this case, let's just go ahead and find out more. Now what the agent does is say, okay, I'm going to pull all the articles that are public, that are private on LinkedIn, and I'm going to amass them for you and give you a little database of different articles and different things that you might want to read or learn about based on this Flexus expansion. We're going to ask specifically, do they have sustainability goals? Where it calls out, it found in an earnings statement that the CEO, yes, has a path to net zero emissions by 2030. That might matter for you. You sell a service or a product where that could be a really important fact. And so then you might ask, show me decision makers. Who do I need to know? And different than today, where we might find you the people, with AI, we're not only going to find you the people, we'll scour and we'll look at those articles and we'll pull names and find that Antoine might have been referenced in the article. He is in charge of this expansion. So yes, he's an important person to know. So I click on Antoine. And from there, I get to see who are my warm paths in, my colleagues that might be able to give me, again, that great intro. I see that my own VP of sales, Quinn, can give me that intro. And so right from here, the agent will go through the process, create that intro path, write the message for you, and on and on. And so the concept here isn't to walk you through just the one way the agent is going to help. It's to give you an idea of what the agent is capable of. What you saw was finding qualified leads, matching them properly, creating outreach, brokering introductions, and then giving you prep and research and everything you need across the entire sales cycle. So this is much more than a tool for an individual seller, but it's meant to be for everybody that speaks to customers. And while we're showing you the agent today in 2 different surfaces, in Sales Navigator, and then even in your own LinkedIn.com surface, what you can imagine is, as we bring the agent to life in all of the products and services that you're using, how do we prepare you for a meeting directly in your calendar? How do we give you the insights you need on an individual while you're in a live meeting and hovering over that person you don't know in a Teams or a Zoom or whatnot? So we're really excited about this capability. This is the part where if I don't say anything about timing, like when we go, everyone asks me about timing when we go get drinks. So I will just say that we are in very fast development. We are looking to launch an agent-type capability in the first half of calendar year 25, so not in the distant future. We're gonna be in a beta stage with customers in the first quarter. So we're gonna be telling you a lot about this as the months go on, but we're really excited about the capability. So that is our product section. I'll be around, excited to chat with all of you if you have questions. And in terms of what's next, so we've got Sinead and we've got a great customer panel going, but as the crew gets working, we're really excited to also show you another video, but it's our brand new brand campaign. So we're gonna let that run.
When you're looking for the right buyer groups, get right to the right conversations with Sales Navigator.
Please welcome to the stage Senior Director LinkedIn for Sales, Sinead McCabe, and our customer panel.
Hello everyone, my name is Sinead McCabe. I lead the LinkedIn EMEA, SMB and mid-market sales teams, and I'm delighted to welcome you here to our customer panel today. This is the time of the day where we really get to dive deeper into some of the bigger themes and key findings that have been emerging so far. And there's no bigger theme than the role of AI in the future of sales. So we've heard earlier on today that buying decisions are getting much more complicated with buying committees growing exponentially in the last 2 years. We've also heard about how AI can help us tackle that complexity, doubling the time spent selling and revolutionizing research. However, at the same time, we've also heard about the struggles that sales leaders and their sales teams are experiencing in unlocking the potential, with 56% of sales execs saying that they feel completely overwhelmed with the sheer amount of AI technologies that are out there at the moment. So the panel's mission today is to really dive deeper and clear up some of the confusion and really talk about how we can empower our sales teams to embrace an AI-powered future. So with that, I'm very thrilled to have 3 sales leaders from Dell, Fujitsu, and Gong, who are going to share their perspective and insights. And Sam, I'm going to ask you to tell us who you are, what you do, and something that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. So I know we're tight on time. I'll try and be as quick as possible. My name is Sam Stevens. I am responsible for the SMB and mid-market sales org within Gong EMEA. One thing that's not on my LinkedIn profile, this was probably the question I struggled with the most. Yeah. I thought about something funny, but I ultimately, given that it's ADHD Awareness Month in October, I'm going to be loud and proud about the fact that I have ADHD. And I think that, many people are quiet about it, but it has ultimately, my neurodivergent brain has ultimately led to the success or achievements that underpin my entire LinkedIn profile. And I think it's just super important to be vocal about some of the challenges, but also the superpowers that come with that type of a brain.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Ronnie, same question to you.
Well, good afternoon, and firstly, LinkedIn, thank you for having me here. It's about 12 odd months since we put the head above the parapet, so thank you. I'm Ronnie Abraham. I look after Fujitsu's private sector business in the UK. That's all our business outside of our defense and public sector. The one thing about me that's probably not on LinkedIn, I like to learn. I like to learn but not commit to too much. So I do about 5 or 6 lessons of something new every year. So last year, after 46 years, I learned to swim. So I'm now swimming pool safe when I go on holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Margareta.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Sinead, and all of LinkedIn for having us here. It's a hard one to follow, Sam. That's pretty amazing what you've just shared with us, so thank you for that. So I'm Margareta. I run our global partner advisory team inside Dell Technologies. I'm trying to think of something, because I actually forgot about this point that you did tell me. I got roped into signing up for, I joined a local gym recently. It's called F45, and I've got roped into doing this thing called High Rocks. And I don't know if anybody else is doing it or signed up for it, but it is horrendous training and burpees and box jumps on a regular basis. And it's just killing me alongside the global role at Dell. So that's something that I haven't put on my LinkedIn profile. I'm going to keep a low profile after today on it.
Okay, if we're going to inspire our teams to really embrace AI, it's really important that we've got a level of confidence and understanding about what it actually means. And also we've got a role as sales leaders to make sure that sales have a voice when AI technology decisions are being made for the business. So with that in mind, maybe a first question to all three of you, how do you do your day job? You know, leading sales teams, coaching people, hiring, hitting targets, and think about AI technology at the same time. How do you strike a balance? I'll start with you, Sam, if that's okay.
Yeah, striking the balance is really hard. There's not enough time in the day. And so the way that we strike that balance at Gong is really to automate everything that could possibly be automated. And we would leverage our own platform from a technology perspective to do such tasks. So I would be recording any type of one-to-ones that I have with my managers, and then having, you know, the reminder of what the to-do and the action items are after that one-to-one, in order to make sure that I'm on top of everything, because it's super easy to let those, hey, yeah, I'll definitely take action on that, slip by the wayside. And it does help me balance in some regard. I think that we can all do a better job at seeking out technology that does that even further. And I'm excited about some of the features that I just saw spoken about in the last session.
Great. Ronnie?
Well, thank you. I think I need to call out Jason Daniels, my CDO here. He does not stop talking about AI. But having said that, Fujitsu's been in AI for a number of years, so we've got a very, very strong R&D function and our own AI community. So we've been used to some of the messaging, and we've been trained to sort of think about the applications of AI. I also spend a lot of time with our platform partners, the likes of Salesforce, Microsoft, LinkedIn, for example, and you'll find that there's a lot of generative AI in all of their applications, which we also offer to our customers. And lastly, customers, importantly, how are they using it? And a lot of my time is spent with them, so learning through osmosis, but also using the heritage of Fujitsu.
Margareta?
I think from a Dell perspective, look, I think it's kind of public knowledge. We've gone through quite a significant transformation in the marketplace with a change to kind of modern Dell. So we've brought in what we're calling an AI factory, which supports, it's the kind of infrastructure for all kind of solutions and services to enable the growth of AI, from pilots to right through to scaling AI solutions. So the whole organization has literally transformed in the last 12 months through AI. We've got significant training going on, coaching going on. Most of our underlying solutions are being powered by AI now. So it's a huge transformation. What I loved earlier on was Lisa's point around the FOMO and the FOMO. And I think as a sales leader, it's really hard, right, at the moment to try and balance this, because there's so much going on and the complexity of the sales process is so hard. There's so many more buyers there. And then buyers are stagnating as well and stalling. And so as a sales leader, I think it's actually getting harder, although the tools are getting better and better. So it's not easy.
So there's a lot going on, clearly, in your three companies in AI. But Sam, like, AI technology investment can be a much bigger discussion at a business level. How do you make sure that your voice of sales is heard when these decisions are being made?
Yeah, I think sales leaders in general play a really crucial part in driving change across the organization. It has to come from the top down, and you need to lead by example. So it's really important to educate yourself, like do your research, listen to podcasts, subscribe to blogs, newsletters, articles, attend events like today's, and then go back and educate your team. And then I think you need to have a deep understanding of your business and your sales process, and identify, I think, Lisa, you had alluded to it earlier, identify those areas of friction, try and look under the hood to figure out what is it that's causing that, And can that be automated? So can you tie what you found in your research to solving where there may be friction within the sales cycle? Forrester, for 3 summers in a row, has reported that 77% of an AE's time is spent on non-revenue generating tasks. That's the equivalent of coming in on a Monday morning and exiting on a Tuesday at lunchtime. So we need to give them back more time. So identify those areas of friction, tie that back to your research. And then third area I would say is meeting with your cross-functional stakeholders to figure out whether or not there's area of overlap that you can get alignment on to what the art of the possible is. So what have you seen within the market that could potentially solve these problems? How does this overlap with other cross-functional stakeholders, and then consolidate those findings and bring them forward to the business? And typically it's RevOps that helps drive a lot of these changes. And so you kind of get buy-in from them ahead of going to the C-suite to drive change. And sometimes it's not your voice that goes directly to the C-suite, but if you've done your job at multi-threading internally to drive some of these changes, then your voice will be heard at that table, even if it's not through you.
Fair point. Ronnie, it was clear from the vote earlier on that there's a lot of confusion about AI technology. Can you share any tips about how you figure out what the right AI technology, like there mightn't be a specific answer, but how do you think about it? How do you figure out what you need?
I think I'm a bit conflicted about AI in the context that, I don't know, it was, someone said this, someone very famous, that, if the favorite tool that you have is a hammer, then the solution that you have for it is a nail. So every problem is a nail, you keep hammering it. So 2022, ChatGPT, board level, everyone's talking about AI. Business leaders everywhere, where's your AI strategy?
Yeah.
Right? And there's that pressure to sort of talk about AI. But on the flip side, I feel that business leaders must have a very clear articulation of what is the value they expect AI to deliver. Now, from a Fujitsu perspective, we think about it slightly differently. Is it to help people be more productive, or is it to unleash creativity? Now, what is it that we are trying to do? And what I mean by that is, we're on a sales team, we're on a business. I really want to understand how my teams are performing, so CRM. Right. Now, Salesforce has Einstein. There's some really interesting things out there, but if the data that people are putting in, some salespeople are lazy, some people are busy. So your forecasting is always impacted by that data. So by using Einstein, yes, it gives you better visibility of the process, but does it help you win? There's a question mark around that. How do you help build the story? On the other side, you think about the possibility of generative AI or AI changing business models. But the data in organizations are siloed, right? Most organizations, sales, delivery, operations, etc. We've grown up in these organizations thinking vertically, but the value is horizontal. So if you want to change a customer journey, you've got to extricate data from all of this to then drive the value. I think that's the big challenge for enterprise today, is to first unlock at the operational level, the departmental level, the functional level, and then at enterprise level. At least that's my view. And that's where most organizations are experimenting today. Because if your chatbot does 90% of your queries, there's no point in putting ChatGPT on it for the remaining 10%. There's no real value. So identifying value, having intent, and then focusing on driving that intent and value. Hopefully that helped.
It does. Margareta, we know that lots of particularly our great salespeople, are already investing in their own AI skills. Mm-hmm. Do you think sales leaders need to be giving them guidance on where they should be investing their time and what skills they should be learning?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to stifle AEs and sales leaders either, right? Because there's so much information out there and thought leadership. But I think at the same time, we need to make sure that people are aligned with the organization's strategy. And I just think there's so many learning modules as well. So I think absolutely having a framework and some guidance. And we're seeing some best practice, even from our customers as well, where they've got AI academies, there's reverse mentoring programs, there's very structured learning programs in a lot of our organizations that we work with. Those are kind of the best practices. We want to make sure that people are using the right data sources, the algorithms are checked, right? There's a level of transparency with the programs that they're learning from. So I do think we need to give them some guidance and some structure structure around it. Otherwise, it's just enormous, right? It's a bit of a minefield. And as we talked about, sales leaders are busy enough. Right, so I think the more kind of guidance we can give them, the more examples of best practice to say, you should be looking at these kind of programs, this aligns to our organization's growth strategies, this aligns to the products and solutions we're selling, I think that works, right? And I think people welcome that because there's just so much choice out there and there's so many different information sources around AI right now.
Such an important part of our role.
If I could build on that, you touched on a specific key importance of AI, and it's the data that your AI model is actually built upon.
Yeah.
So today we heard loads of data points from LinkedIn about why their AI is going to be the strongest out there for the functionality that's going to be released. And if you are using tools, if your people are using tools that are built upon not a lot of data, they actually run the risk of doing, like, it's detrimental to the sales process and the outcome of the sale. Sales is the outcome, right, of all the activity that we put into it. And if you're putting into it, for lack of a better word, trash, then you're going to get trash back. And so you want them to actually, you need to give guidance, because if they're using the wrong technology, then it's going to have a negative impact on the motion.
And I think just to build on that, Sam, we're also seeing the rise of shadow AI in some organizations, right? So we've got to make sure we put some structure and governance around this. It is important for transparency, for ethics, and to make sure we get the right learning outcomes for organizations too. So the data sources and the transparency is key.
Right, so Lisa mentioned earlier on that we've got a great opportunity now to build relationships with more members of the extended buying committee and to engage with them much, much sooner. So with that in mind, and kind of tying back to what we've just kind of referred to, Margareta, how can leaders help our teams to trust the technology and the data and make greater use of AI for research?
I think there's lots of ways, but I think I can just share the example of how we're approaching it inside Dell Technologies. We have a very structured AI factory with solutions and products that are built out with learning programs. So there's kind of inbuilt trust. We know the data sources. We know the information is going to be accurate about our customer base because it's all been checked and verified. So that kind of, I think there's a natural trust there. We're working with a lot of our own customers as well to build out some solutions with them that we know the data is checked already, the algorithms are right as well. So, and the data protection is backed up. So I think there's an inbuilt level of trust already with how we're approaching it internally inside Dell. Like, that's not a real concern. I think what we're seeing is ethics, governance models being set up with some of our clients to build greater levels of trust where they're adopting new AI programs and they're trying to scale them. And I think that all makes good sense too. We're at the early stages of this, but I think we're going to see a lot more focus on governance and capability and transparency coming through.
Might be early stages, but it sounds like you've put a huge amount of work into it already, right, to make sure that you do it right at the very beginning.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of at the cornerstone of our business, right? But we are in the storage infrastructure space. If we can't provide it, then we'll struggle. But I think we have pivoted the whole business to an AI organization now. So there's a lot of guidance in place, there's a lot of checks in place, and strong kind of frameworks as well. And we're pretty robust on the training that we provide to staff every quarter around new evolutions of the products and solutions that we're bringing out too. So it's pretty rudimentary. I think most of our sales leaders have adopted it pretty well, and we haven't had any pushback. I think they're kind of embracing it. And then most people are using AI in their home lives. Like, if we were to ask any of you, I'm sure all of you are using it to some level in your home life. So we're just reflecting that back in the workplace now with all the solutions that we've got.
So Ronnie, in Fujitsu, how do you use AI to prioritize outreach and relationship building, and what type of insights do you help your team decide when is the right time to reach out to customers?
Thank you. I think it's a great segue from some of the points that Margareta was making. I think there's a slight implication around salespeople from a performance management perspective before I answer your specific question that I want to just tag on to your response. So in conversation with our HR director, we've always had this conversation around performance management of salespeople. And sometimes you find that there are salespeople who've been salespeople throughout their careers, and other people have organically moved into sales over time. I've done a bit of this, a bit of that, and now salesperson. when I was starting my sales career, to get the information that, probably I get out of Account IQ or Buying Insight was virtually impossible. We'd go to the librarian or the media center, and then we'd say, look, this is my prospect, what can you do? And 10 days after that, we get a dossier of everything that was in the press, and you had to read that and then make things up as you went into the meeting. So the focus was on you as an individual. How could you come across as warm, credible, and somebody that the person that you're trying to get in front of wants to meet again? And nowadays, with all of the information that we're giving the salespeople, it becomes very apparent who's a salesperson and who's not. Because with this data, you should be able to perform more. That's the hypothesis anyway. So that puts a lot of pressure on people. Yeah. So the more we bring this into the organization, I think there's that whole well-being, that sense of safety. We need to encourage people to use it, because otherwise they'll start pushing back. Yeah. So that's one thing that I don't think we talk about enough in the context of bringing the technology in, and how does it impact the workforce from a well-being perspective, from a stress perspective. Now, going back to the question, for us, we've been going through a pretty bad time with our brand now in the marketplace. So everything from a sales process perspective, right? Top of the funnel. How do we manage our leads? Which brands are engaging with our brand? So we're working with marketing in a slightly isolated manner to sort of look at that, with other agencies to help us with that. From a strategy perspective, we are clear about the industries we want to work in, the offerings we want to take to market. So things like, Account IQ, buying intent, really useful in that context if we're looking in the right places. We do tend to use a lot of Salesforce in the organization. But today, it's not really connected to, let's say, our email systems, the LinkedIn data. So the value is fragmented. So unless somebody's able to port the data from LinkedIn into Salesforce into then your pre-sale systems, because mid-funnel, here's an RFP or a tender, go to respond to it, how does all the intelligence from before flow into that? But to shorten the process, we're also working with our pre-sales community to say, these are the 50 best responses we've ever written. How do we train Gen AI? We've got our own chat AI internally to then sort of compose a draft response that sort of shaves 5 or 6 days in terms of somebody else thinking it up. So there are things that we are doing intermittently across the sales journey to sort of improve productivity, because ultimately people buy from people, and the focus on our side is to get our salespeople in front of our customers, because that's what engenders trust, transparency. And if everybody uses the same tools and techniques, I think we're all being back at the same baseline. So it's, again, equipping the people, having the right people, and then developing the communication skills to actually deliver the message. So that's where we are. That's what we are trying to harness, the combination of softer skills and technology to drive better effectiveness.
I was just going to jump in. I love that, right? Because I think actually what we're trying to do is augment all of our sales leaders, right, with these tools. And I really think that's about driving the creativity. And I love that you touched on well-being today as well, because today is World Mental Health Day. And I think that's so important. Like, how do we leverage these tools to make sure that everybody is doing better, right? That you've got more time in your day, because there's just so much information coming at us. But I think it's the augmentation of AI tools along with a good sales leader doing their role to make sure we bring the best of our organizations and our sales process to our customers.
Big responsibility for all of us, really.
Yeah.
Sam, we've talked about how AI can help us with relationship building, but what parts of relationship building can we automate, and which bits do we still need that human touch?
Yeah, I think there's a balance, right? It's about, and that balance it needs to be dynamic and it needs to be context-based. Essentially, when you're thinking about the relationship building aspect, it's nearly impossible to automate that. You need to have those sliding door moments and build trust and credibility. And how do you do that in a quick manner? And so I think it's more about enabling our people to show up better prepared for meetings, have an in-depth understanding of meeting their prospects where they are, knowing who they have in common to get those mutual introductions, and ultimately grasping each one of those things at the right time in order to actually drive forward and get that efficiency going and land a meeting or a future opportunity, so to speak.
So they're mutually beneficial and not exclusive.
It's just the context. You have to be dynamic with it, and you have to have the context behind it. And if you don't have that, it's going to be very hard to build trust.
That might be our 5-minute warning.
Yeah.
Very subtle. Right. This is the last section, and maybe I've got 3 kind of very quick fire questions to ask you to finish up. We learned today that 72%, and a lot of people in this room, do not feel confident about being future ready. So maybe, first of all, start with a sales navigator question, because that's part of why we're here today. Maybe I'll start with you, Sam. How do AI and Sales Navigator help you evolve your approach to growth?
I feel like I have a very unique perspective on this because Gong and LinkedIn Sales Nav have such a tight integration that I get to live within our platform, which is built on AI, and we sell to revenue leaders day in and day out. And Sales Navigator is directly built within our product. So being able to leverage account IQ, being able to leverage recommended contacts, being able to see who do we mutually know and what were their recent posts all within one platform with the quick click of a button it's critical to being able to enable my workforce. Second to that, like just recently, over the last few months, we've been evaluating our SDR conversion rates. They weren't necessarily where we wanted them to be during the summertime. And we quickly identified that when there was only one contact on an opportunity, our conversion rates plummeted. But when we had more than 3 contacts engaged in the early stages of the process, our conversion rates quadrupled and our win rates tripled. So we want to put the right people in front of the right activities. And you're probably asking yourself, well, why didn't you just give that over to the AE for them to do that work? We want our AEs closing. We want them working qualified opportunities. So now we've mandated that our SDRs have to have 3 engaged contacts in order to qualify that opportunity. And it has increased our win rates drastically. So like that better together story between Gong and LinkedIn Sales Navigator is probably my favorite element of the platform.
Wow.
That's a fast benefit, right?
It was
big ROI.
like 3 months, but we've also always known that when we have more than 3 contacts, our win rate is above 65%. When we have more than 4 contacts, it's actually in the 70 to 80% mark. And then earlier we spoke about the status quo and that being the biggest, loss.
Yeah.
So when we have a competitor in the mix, our win rate is above 70%, as opposed to when we don't have a competitor in the mix. It's incredible what data insights can actually give to you, especially when you're trying to scale an organization and really drive efficiencies.
How about Fujitsu?
That's really great. I wish we could get there.
Gong and Sales Navigator.
And Fujitsu. For us, Sales Navigator is a new tool. When I say new, we've been sort of using it in earnest for the last 3 months. Right, so Anna, if she's in the room, she did an amazing job of coming in, sort of like talking us about the capabilities and how we could enhance the whole sales process for us. We ran a couple of pilots in terms of how it could help build account intelligence, map out personas, especially when some active deals. So some of the content, some of the awareness, we're building in new narratives into a standard pitch around sustainability. Right? What is the organizational benefit via sustainability? Are they looking at something else beyond just buying core technology? How do values match between our organization and theirs? So we're building in a narrative which is not just pure tech, but more around societal selling, value matching, which is landing very well with customers. So I hope the conversion rate sort of improves to the rate that you've described, but it's definitely enhancing the sales process from our side.
How you find it? Sorry.
I was just going to say, if not a conversion rate, maybe decreasing the sales cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So getting that to convert earlier and more often.
Absolutely. I think some of the enterprise selling process today is that, once you've connected the buyer and the seller, you go through sometimes a very onerous procurement process. And you're not in control of that process because, at every gate you have a new set of reviewers with different ideas. So you're trying to find the common bit that applies to all of them. So that becomes the hard thing when you're running through very mandated procurement processes. And it's only when you come to the end against, one-on-one against one competitor that you can be really creative. But till then, you've got to meet all the boxes and go through it. So Sales Navigator really helps with that process as well.
I'd only add to what Ronnie and Sam have said. Look, Sales Navigator has been a core tool for Dell Technologies for a long time. We have an amazing team from the LinkedIn side. Elaine, if she's here, has done a phenomenal job with some of the Dell sellers and some of the teams across EMEA and globally. I think it's only getting bigger for us, right? Because we're pivoting a lot of our sales to chief AI officers now. We're selling to a new buyer base. And so Sales Navigator, the enhanced functionality on Account IQ is making it even more precise. It's reducing down the sales process and the sales time as well. So it's getting better and better for us, right? And I think we'll see a much stronger partnership between Dell and LinkedIn as we move forward with this AI factory that's been launched.
That's exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to combine the last two questions into two questions, fast fire. First one, I might start with you, Margareta. What is the AI tool that you're using that you get the most benefit out, for hints and tips for anybody else? And what is the one thing you're doing to become future ready?
I think honestly, it has to be the Dell AI PC that's been launched on the market. That's it's a device that we've got. We've all got it as Dell sales leaders. It's built in Microsoft Copilot. It has transformed how I work. It's transformed most of my colleagues' time as well. Just even basic tools like scheduling meetings, lead gen, account mapping sessions with partners. It's been huge for us. In terms of future ready, we are doing continuous training, right? Non-stop training, but also there's different programs that we're rolling out inside Dell around the pilot programs and how we're scaling them. So there's a lot of seminars, there's a lot of coaching sessions as well. We set up quite an intense reverse mentoring program inside Dell as well to make sure some of our less enthusiastic sellers would embrace AI. And that's worked pretty well, actually. And believe it or not, it's also been quite inclusive. Like we're seeing multi-generational kind of progress coming through and much more inclusion in the workplace because of some of these tools, which has been a nice surprise.
Thank you. One tool you can do it at, and one thing you're doing to be future ready, Ronnie?
Oh, well, we've got an internal LLM called Chat AI. Now, the bulk of Fujitsu is in Japan. So all the 90-year-old heritage, the history is there, but they speak Japanese, we speak English. It's really hard to extract that from Japan and bring it into the conversation with our customers here, especially when we are having net new. So with Chat AI, we're actually able to have a normal conversation with a little bit of a delay. So either emails, it's far easier to now draft an email in English, Chat AI translate it, and we get a response back. Because traditionally, when you reach out to our Japanese counterparts, they're a little bit scared because they don't speak very good English. So we're breaking through some of those internal barriers using AI, and that's fascinating. And I agree with what has been said already in terms of training. One of the things that I'm pushing our sales leaders to do is to say, or rather to exhibit a certain behavior, which is do as I do, use these tools, broadcast it on our Yammer channels to say, look, this is what I found, and then hope that other people will follow.
Yeah, sometimes it's just somebody to tell everybody. Finally, with you, Sam.
Yeah, and this is not to plug the company that I work for, I promise. In my last company, I was actually responsible for rolling Gong out to our EMEA team. And I consistently tell any leader that I connect with on customer calls that Gong was the first piece of technology that gave me more than it asked for in return. And I still feel that way till this day. And the reason why I would choose Gong as the technology that I wouldn't be able to do without, the AI technology I wouldn't be able to do without, is down to the fact that its ecosystem integrates with so many technology partners. So I'm not having to switch out of a dozen different tabs in order to get to the information that I need. So like even Sales Navigator being directly within the platform that I live in and day out makes me way more efficient and effective at what I do. And it does the same for my team. So that is the reason why I would choose Gong as the platform that I would never get rid of, because it gives me access to all of those other tools as well. And that is really important.
I think that's all that we've got time for. I really want to thank Ronnie, Sam, and Margareta for such real-life, interesting insights. We're on a big journey. We have a lot of work to do. You're clearly ahead of the game. I think it's very exciting for all of us. And hopefully a lot of that confusion that we all expressed at the beginning is a little bit gone now today. So I'm going to hand over to Stephanie to close off the event. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Hi again. So it's now my job to close everything off and bring everything together from what we've heard today. So no easy task. But first of all, I hope you'll all agree it's been a really inspiring afternoon, and thank you to all the speakers that we've had today. Now, one quick remark is we are not finished yet. We are going to have reception drinks upstairs in the Lioness Bar, just one floor up. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have something called an instant social media booth. Sounded scary to me too. It creates videos that you can instantaneously put on LinkedIn. Let's give it a try, why not? LinkedIn video, or video in general, is the most common way to communicate now socially, so try it out today. But now back to all the content. We asked earlier if you feel future ready. My question before was going to be, if you didn't feel future ready, which clearly we have said we don't, I hope today helped to make you feel a little bit more future ready, in the sense that you're not alone. Nobody is kind of anywhere further than you are today. No one's lagging behind at this point, right? We're on a journey, and we're all on this journey together. And as LinkedIn, we promise, and we are currently working with that marketing at the back that did this amazing event, on more and more events like this, to network, to learn together, and to continue on this journey together. But if I just recap very briefly everything that we heard today, then I would say, first of all, complexity creates opportunity. We've heard about the AI disrupted landscape, and that our buyers are confused and unsure of what to do. And this really does give all of us sellers and leaders an opportunity to be that trusted advisor and help guide them through these choices. Right. Second of all, AI is a tool like nothing we've ever seen before. For the first time ever, this is something that is going to give your salespeople those powerful insights that they need without eating up even more of their time. And it's something that everyone's going to have to take on. And third, probably the most important one for me, myself as a sales leader, that I'm going to take back into action. Lisa mentioned it before. Don't wait for the training, be the training. It's we have to lead with purpose and clarity as leaders. Because in all this confusion, our teams, our people, there's anxiety, unclear what they're going to do next, what we're expecting. So it's our responsibility to tell a positive, empowering story about AI and how we can use it internally. And how do we do that? We're very clear, like the panel just said today, we're very clear on what AI tools we want to use, how they fit into our processes, and last but not least, what we expect them to deliver. What is that win? So I hope with everything you've heard and seen today as well, from Bill sharing our product roadmap, that you can see that the AI features that we've developed within Sales Navigator all are designed to do exactly that, to help guide you on this path to being future ready, to not eat away at more of your employees' time, but actually support them to get to the most important part, use those human skills, build relationships, and be that trusted advisor. So now I'm the last thing standing between us and drinks. So all I want to say is thank you so much for joining us today. Have an amazing afternoon, rest of the evening, and yeah, thanks. See you soon.